2 weeks later, I got fired because they didn't want to work with me because I was a woman. I just challenged them and said, well, can't you book any women? And I was just told to my face, because women aren't funny. There are no funny women. Some of it's just laziness.
Laziness or not brave enough. Bigger businesses, often they're afraid of, I can't say this, right? I think we've become so politically correct.
Are they brave enough? I don't know what they're frightened of.
Everyone needs to think about how they can make their content more exciting at the moment.
This is where TikTok, of course, has taken off. Anyone can be funny.
You can have funny and value and make it more around advertainment.
Specsavers is brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I love the one with the dog that gets shaved instead of the sheep. You know, I can remember the detail, and that's the point. You remember them because they are funny.
So hello, Lynn.
Hello.
And welcome to Marketing in the Madness.
Oh, the right place for me, definitely.
I mean, madness feels like a good title for this. Also because we met at another marketing festival.
That was pretty mad.
It was, and it is called Madfest.
Yeah.
So actually, Lynn is going to be talking today, guys, about something that I listened to at Madfest. You were the only talk, because I was hosting and interviewing people all bloody week.
You were really busy.
I didn't get to see any talks apart from yours.
I think I only watched yours as well.
Oh, there we go.
I think I ran across to watch something else to do with what was it? It was there was a sort of competition thing. I ran across to see that because I was there with the comedy crowd, who are my great mates. Plug for them because they are great. And then I literally saw everything else in your little women's enclave.
Yeah, which is the best part.
Yeah, which needs to be much bigger next year.
It's coming, and I'm going to get you involved with it.
And we're going to have comedy and everything, hopefully.
I'm so excited about
if we can get those young gentlemen to
it's
sort
happening.
It out. Yeah.
Don't you worry. I am speaking to Madfest. We are making it happen.
Great.
And it's definitely going to happen now because we talked about it on the podcast.
They can't go back.
Yeah, it's happening. So on that note, as you guys can probably already tell, Lynn is pretty big in the world of comedy. She is the CEO of Fanny Women. That's
Women.
funny in itself.
That's it.
Okay. She is the CEO of Funny Women. No, she is the CEO of Funny Women. And we're going to talk about loads of different things today. Yeah. But I do really want to delve into what you spoke about at Madfest, which is the importance of comedy in marketing. And especially in the B2B world. Businesses, I've been talking about this morning.
Yeah.
So bloody boring. Their content is dull, yawn. Like if businesses can be brave enough to insert comedy.
That is the rub. Yeah. Are they brave enough? I don't know what they're frightened of. Well, that's not true. I do know what they're frightened of. But if they come to people like you and me who are experts and we know how to do these things, they needn't be frightened, you know, and then a world of possibilities will open up. So, yeah, absolutely. I think comedy is really powerful and relatable and accessible, and everybody finds something funny. Well, most people do. It's like music, isn't it? There's so many different types of things. But yeah, there's a lot of preconceptions about the use of comedy in marketing. And a lot of our clients are your boring. They're not boring. We love them. But we have a lot of clients from the financial services, insurance companies love us, banking, you know, things that need a bit of a pep up. You know, NatWest, actually, who we've worked with a lot, they had a fantastic run of funny commercials, and I think they were really good for them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we worked with them as well. So hopefully we imbued them with the bravery to do a bit of comedy.
Yeah. And let's hope more of it can happen. And I think everyone needs to think about how they can make their content more exciting at the moment, especially
definitely
when the world feels a bit blur.
Yeah.
Like we can really enlighten it and make it more interesting, funny, exciting to watch. Not, you know, I talk a lot about value exchange, but I think if you can have funny and value and make it, I don't know, we were talking about this before on the podcast, more around advertainment. So it's fun.
I like that.
Yeah,
Can I use that?
Yeah, use it. Well, I'll have to quote my good friend Dan Knowlton, who does.
I know Dan.
Yeah, he does some great content.
Yes, he does loads of brilliant little funny videos.
Yes.
And he's a Kent boy.
Yeah, he is a Kent boy.
Yeah.
He's brilliant because, of course,
in my neck
you're
of the
in
woods.
his hood.
Yes.
Yeah, or he's in your hood.
Yeah.
You own the hood, Lynne.
Well, he's in Margate and I'm in slightly more genteel Rochester, but the bigger bit is Medway, which is quite down with the kids. But yeah, I mean, that's Dan's a really good example of someone that really knows how to use humour.
Yeah, exactly. And does it really well. And I think I have definitely noticed him in the last year or two because they've really focused on making their content fun and funny. Yeah. It's just going through the roof. Like, they're growing so quickly. At
the risk of being slightly controversial, though, he is a bit of a bloke.
Yes.
And I do think they need to listen to a few of us women.
Too right. Should we give him a challenge?
I've already challenged him and he has ignored me so far.
Okay, right. Well, let's make this
We're working on that.
I'm going to a conference in Ibiza with him next week, which we're both speaking at.
You get all the best jobs.
I know. Hey ho, lucky
How
me.
How do I get to go to a conference in Ibiza?
I know. Don't worry, you can come with me next year, Lynne. So before we dig into, all the amazing things that we're going to talk about today, can you give me a little bit of a potted history of Lynne? And I guess how
did we get here?
Yeah, how did you get here?
Okay, well, I'm quite old and I've had 3 different careers. So I left school, went to the London College of Fashion, as you can clearly tell, and I did a fashion writing course. And that's what I did. I did that and went straight into magazines and journalism, and messed around in women's magazines and glossy magazines for a few years, trade magazines. And then there was a sort of bit of a kind of crash, and all the journalism was beginning to change. We hadn't quite reached the technological revolution because it was a long time ago, but there was a big change, and I just got into PR. So PR marketing, and in those days, PR was writing press releases. So they wanted people like me to write stuff. And I was good at it because, having been a journalist, I knew what it was like to be on the receiving end of some terrible stuff. And I had a very successful career as a PR consultant. I was in-house for a bit. Then I set up, I had, I think, different consultancies, about 3 different variants of what I did. And I'm glossing over this, by the way, because it's quite a complicated. I tried to write my CV the other week and I thought, I can't do this. It's too long. It was going up to like 10 pages. I thought nobody is even going to read this. So PR career, I did that. It was really good because when I have 2 kids who are grown up now, and I was able to kind of work around the kids. I am the original home worker. I've always worked a lot from home, even pre-computers and internet and everything. I was became very good at working around my kids, and just, when they were asleep, I would do some work. I've noticed everyone sort of does that now, thinking they're very revolutionary. But hey, I was doing it before without the power of,
the things that we have
computers
today.
And what have you. We did everything on the phone. We used to put things in the post.
Yeah, I was going to say, how would you?
I know.
Right, I'm not going to, unless you want to share your age. I'm not going to.
I'm quite happy to talk about my age. I am officially a pensioner. I am 67.
I mean, you look
and
insane.
I'm still working. Well, you see, I think the minute you give up and you stop, that's when it all goes south.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. I know people who are a lot younger than me, who are a lot older than me, in their minds. You have to keep active.
Yeah, and keep your mind working. My dad worked until he didn't retire until he was 85 or 86.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's retired, love him, but you can see the difference.
Yeah.
His mind isn't as active. So what I was going to ask is, how does it work? Like, working from home, I mean, this is super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Were you handwriting things? Were you using computers, typing?
So before we even had the internet and all the technology we have now, my best story about this, just to kind of put it in context, before I had the kids, we had a little agency based in Chiswick, and it was called Lynne Parker PR, actually. It was very similar. Weirdly, the graphics were quite similar to the Funny Women ones. It was all pink. I had great pictures around the walls. It was so cool, and I was quite young. And I was with my now husband, and he was helping me set up the office. And he said, I think we need to consider buying a fax machine. I said, what is a fax machine? He said, it's going to replace telex, because we've been talking about buying a telex machine. So we very bravely bought this fax machine. and it sort of revolutionized our lives because it just churned out documents. But that was so unusual and it was so different. We had a massive sort of big square Amstrad computer that was all DOS. I couldn't use it. I mean, I couldn't get into computers until we had Windows and all these things. It was just a different world. It was very analog. You still did everything we do now, but it just took 10 times longer.
Yeah.
You know, you put press releases in the post. I'm not even nostalgic about it, although I think we've lost that. I think we've lost that pleasure. Everything is so fast and quick and instant now that nobody stops and really considers things anymore. Whereas we used to have time to think about, you know, take 3 days to get a press release approved.
Yeah.
You know, client would go away for the weekend and they might remember to approve it on the Monday. But, you know, it was fun. And we used to do a lot more kind of in real life things. We used to do, you know, Christmas in July. That was my favourite. Get all your clients' Christmas product stuff together.
Yes, of course.
Because they used to work so far ahead.
Yeah.
Again, do the media work so far ahead? No, they don't, because everything's digitalised now. So printing is quicker. So it is interesting to be my age and to be able to look back across the industry and how much it has changed. And I think the difficulty as you get older is keeping up with it all, you know.
You're doing a bloody good job, Lynne.
I think I've make the effort, but I know a lot of people say to me, I can't be bothered to do Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. But, you know, if you're working, you've got to do those things, whether you like them or not. I mean, I don't particularly like it, but I have to do it. And sometimes I go off for a bit and don't do it, and then I come back. But yeah, and if you don't like it and you can afford to pay someone, get someone to do it for you. You know,
that's a great
the
point.
thing. So fast forward to PR career, 2 kids, working around them. It's all a blur now, but you do it. I mean, you've got kids, so you know those early days go by and you think, how did I do it? I've just had, my son's and his wife had a baby, so I have a granddaughter now, and it brings it all back watching them jiggle around all of their timetables and that, and you think, how did we do it? How did we manage? But you do. And I think the difference now is that, and we did it together, we were very much a team, my husband and I, and I've noticed that my son and his wife do the same. But I think a lot of people don't have that advantage of having, I mean, you're on your own and sometimes it's difficult to do it. But I think the fact that we were a team made it sort of easier, really.
Yeah.
So
life's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
However, you know, and everything is, you know, relative to you and your knowledge and your situation and your life. So, you know, it's not.
Life gets in the way, as I always say.
It really does. But
somehow I think we've got an opportunity now with all the new technology, which I think is the big advantage of now, that you can do a lot more things from home in the middle of the night. You know, you can write your emails and set them up to go off the next day. I never do. I send them in the middle of the night just to annoy everyone. But you can, you know, if you're organised. But there's lots of things you can do if you know how to embrace technology. I am not an expert, but I think staying relevant as you get older, and you know, when you've had enough or you don't feel like you can do something, ask somebody. You know, there's always someone around to help, she says. But you know,
there usually is, especially us women.
Know somebody.
We help each other.
I think women are very good at that.
Yeah. So you had these careers in fashion and PR, set up your own consultancy.
Several times.
Yes.
Different guises. Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, that shows what you're like as a person, which we will talk about in a bit more detail. And then at some point you went on to set up Funny Women. So how on earth did you get from fashion and PR to Funny Women?
So first of all, Funny Women is the longest I've ever done anything, because this is now coming into my 21st year technically, because we set it up originally in 2002. I can't believe I've done anything that long, because I am one of these people that does lots of different things. But I think because of what I've done in the past, I think it helps me because I can perpetuate things. You know, I'm constantly updating and what have you, which is what you do. But how it came about, in my PR career, I had lots of different clients. I didn't do so much fashion as time went on, and I ended up doing quite a lot around the entertainment world. And weirdly, I had a hairdresser client, and it was through him that we got recommended to a comedy club. I can't even remember what the connection. I think the hairdresser's brother had some connection with this comedy club. Who knows? The comedy club was the Embassy Club on Tottenham Court Road. And it was famous at the time, this is the late 90s, it was famous for a number of television comedy shows were filmed there. And it was very kind of red velvet curtains and what have you. It is now Spearmint Rhino. So say
there we
more.
go.
There you go.
Stayed on the same vein.
It might have been
a bit
like that then.
I feel like I've actually been there.
Yeah, you probably have.
Yeah, don't know how or why,
but it was this American promoter came over. He ran clubs in and around Miami called the Improv Club. I don't know why they were called Improv, because they were nothing to do with improv really. That was the name they gave the club, and he wanted to launch it in London, and they were looking for a publicist, and I got the account as a freelancer, and it was extraordinary because I've always quite liked comedy. I kind of grew up on a diet of it with my father. I think would have liked to have been a comedian, but we grew up in the sort of 60s and went to holiday camps, and there was always the red coats and the blue coats. And my granddad worked at White City at the BBC. He was a lighting man, not a lighting cameraman. He just sat with a light and pointed it at the sets. And so we had these kind of quasi show business connections. And my father just listened to loads of radio comedy. And because my granddad worked at the BBC, I even went to see things like Round the Horn and Navy Lark being recorded. I was only about 8 or 9. I don't know how they got an 8 or 9-year-old kid, but I even had to check whether I was manifesting it in my head, but it is actually true. So I kind of grew up around all of this. And I think that was what got my interest. But if you think about it, everything I'm telling you about was very male.
Yeah.
Morecambe and Wise, Saturday night viewing. It was all men. And then I think because I got this job with the comedy club and I got annoyed that they were just booking men all the time, I just challenged them and said, oh, can't you book any women? Why do you only book men? And I was just told to my face, because women aren't funny. And there are no funny women. Bing. That was, I think, the light bulb moment. I thought, okay, I'll show you. so I did come up with the idea of doing something for them. And I was all set to do it. I had one of my fashion clients was going to sponsor it. We had it all peachy. It's going to be great. And then the American guy who was working with the British team, he fell out with them. He went back to America. 2 weeks later, I got fired because they didn't want to work with me because I was a woman.
Oh, that kind of stuff makes me so mad.
And it was the English part of it that told me that women weren't funny because they were doing all the bookings and things. So I was weirdly left with this brilliant idea to do a show called Funny Women. I'd done the old copyright thing, written it and sent it to myself. I did the really one smart thing because this was about 1998, 99. I did that. I didn't know anything really about technology, but someone said to me, register the URL. Website. What's a website?
Yeah. Well, it was quite new back then.
I know. So I did. And funnywomen.com. And I've had it ever since and various other variants. Didn't do anything with it till 2002, but I did the smart thing. And I think that is probably one of those moments where you just think, oh, I'm quite pleased with myself for doing that, But and now every business has to have a website and it becomes part of your brand identity. And it's so good to have one that really has your name on it. So that there I was, no client, they'd gone, an idea in an envelope. And I thought, this is good. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a big charity, classic female thing. I'll do a big charity.
I'll give money to everyone else.
I'll just, never mind anyone else. I'll just do something amazing. And it took me till I ended up doing the very first big Funny Women event in 2002 in the autumn for breast cancer charities, because in the ensuing time from leaving the client to getting something together, I'd actually sold my business and was working with another consultancy, and we had 9/11, which people have forgotten. But, you think COVID killed everything. So did 9/11. So there was a really big, difficult time in the industry. So I put this big charity night on in 2002. And out of that, I met my first brand partner, which was the wonderful Babycham. And we worked with Babycham for 3 years. And the reason they came on board is because I'd said they'd done some stuff at the show, the big show, given some bottles away and done some stuff with us. I was talking to the client and they said, we love this. It's fantastic. Babycham is a female product. It's only women that buy it. We need to do something. It's getting a bit out of date. This is perfect for us. I said, well, the one thing I really feel we need to do, because there's not enough visibility for women in the industry, in the comedy circuit, is I want to launch a competition for new female comedians. And they said, oh, we love that. So I said, okay. And they said, oh, Babycham Awards. I said, no, Funny Women Awards. And second smart thing I did, because the minute you brand it, if you lose your sponsor, you're completely...
It's theirs, not yours.
Yeah. So they were fine with that, and they stayed with us for 3 years. So we started the awards in 2003. We had 70 women enter for one award.
Wow.
And now on the eve of this year's 2023 awards, I think we're at about 1,500 women involved with it, either as self-entered, for one of the main awards, or nominated for the Content Creator Award. And it's become very big and quite unwieldy. And so we've grown, and then the branding, sponsorship, partnership market has gone like that. So it's really tough now to keep it all going. It's a massive juggling act. But I mean, testament to perhaps my skills that I do keep it going, because it would be nice just to have someone come along and just say, don't worry, Lynn, we'll pay for it all.
We'll sponsor it.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Brands
so
listening.
Yes.
Listen to Lynn. Like, if you want to connect, I mean, for me, what you've done as a woman, just in general, can I just say hats off to you? And to challenge, especially way back when, because
it's a very different world then.
You've got a few years on me.
Yeah.
But I remember I was finished school in 1998. So I finished my GCSEs in 1998. And the world was so different back then. It
really is. And when you start looking back on it, it's shocking how different it was.
Scarily so. The fact that you have set up a business that supports and empowers women back then, I think that was a very pioneering thing that you've done.
Yeah, I think I've always struggled with, because I've always seen it as a social business, so not a not-for-profit, and we've only kind of really put that in place. Now you can become a community interest company.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, we've always been a non-profit company, but we've always had to kind of be a company, but that's good, because it's made me. You still, even if you're a not-for-profit, you still have to earn money and you still have to support yourself.
Yeah.
And when we've had the tough times, we've been able to, use our skills to do corporate work and do all the other things that combine what I used to do with the world of comedy. And that's a very powerful combination. And I think now at this stage, that's the bit I really want to concentrate on.
Yeah.
The awards are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but they are really hard work. And the more entries you have, you imagine we had 350 scripts this year. And I have to rely on volunteers, and they've been reading those scripts. We were just talking today about who was doing the last round of reading. And we're so lucky. I think we had somebody from every major broadcaster. Then a couple of our non-executive directors, a couple of people who've been with me as producers, one of which has been with me 10 years, who, because we've had to go into special measures financially, she's not being paid, but she's still doing it. I mean, it's an amazing thing. No one wants to leave it,
Yeah.
But we are on our knees.
Yeah.
And I've had to say to people, if I don't get support going forward, it just cannot be done. Not because I'm old and tired, although that is a consideration, but I do think it needs the energy. It needs a number of brands to get behind it. And up until very recently, for the last 4 years, we've worked with the wonderful people at Sky, the studios, the development side, but they've had all sorts of upheavals up the top. And unfortunately, the people we work with had to kowtow to the senior management and pull all their budgets. And this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens with brands, as you all know.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, it's specifically hard at the moment, I think. But
I don't know why that is, other than post-COVID and all these other things.
Yeah, I think, just financial crisis. People are scared more than anything.
I think fear plays a really big part.
But there are some amazing brands that align with the feminine nature of funny women that should really be sat behind and supporting this. So don't worry, I'm going to help.
We're going to get them.
We are going to get them.
And the other thing that's really important to any brands listening to this is get them when they're new.
Yeah.
Number of people, Katherine Ryan won our awards in 2008. I get about 20 calls a year saying, "Oh, can you get us Katherine Ryan?" No, I can't get you Katherine Ryan because you haven't got enough money for Katherine Ryan. She is huge. She's huge.
Yeah, I love her, by the way.
She is fantastic and she's wonderful and, and deserves her success. She works really hard. But, and I can remember I booked her for a couple of clients, or I'd suggested her for a couple of clients probably in about 2012, 13, and they're going, "Oh, we're not really sure. We don't know who she is." And I'm going, she's going to be big. Believe me, if you do use her now when you can afford her, you will be so pleased with yourself in the years to come.
Yeah.
And it annoys me when brands don't take the advice. Here we all are. We're experts. We know what I see thousands of women coming through. I've got very good at picking up the ones that are going to be really successful.
Yeah.
I'm not always right, but I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, there are some, I used to be before, I don't speak to her so much anymore, and she was friends with friends, but very good friends with Morgana Robinson.
Oh, yes. I don't know her actually, but she's amazing.
She's done so well. And it's so empowering for me look, I'm nothing necessarily to do with the comedy industry, but to see women in a space that has been predominantly, owned by men for many, many years.
Well, Morgana, there is a new Morgana on the block.
Oh, is there?
And her name is Lorna Rose Treen.
Yes.
Because she won 2 of our awards last year.
Amazing.
And she's already been absolutely compared to Morgana.
She
is the new one. She does character comedy. She won the stage award in one character, and she won the Comedy Shorts Award as another character. People in the audience didn't even realise it was the same person.
Amazing.
She's so talented. She's just had a run at Edinburgh Fringe. She is going to be big.
Get me to Edinburgh Fringe next year, Lynne. I so want to do that.
But, the Fringe, again, is a great place to go because that's where you see the new talent coming up. If you're a marketeer or someone that's got a brand and you want to align your brand with something, go and have a look at all these people, not just the women, loads of new talent. And most of these comedians, jobbing comedians, as I like to call them, they all have to do other stuff to earn money.
Yeah.
They're brilliant writers. A lot of them film themselves, make videos, make YouTube stuff, use TikTok. You mentioned Dan Knowlton earlier. I mean, he's just an advertising version of what is going on every day in the world of comedy. And I don't understand what stops people going to look for it. I personally think some of it's just laziness.
Laziness, or maybe not brave enough. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, because I think people are especially bigger businesses, often they're afraid if I can't say this, right? I think we've become so politically correct, in a lot of ways, that people are scared to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And that's why I love going to comedy nights, because at the end of the day, people don't give what they're saying.
But what you see in a live comedy club is the raw product.
Yes.
And just to flip it, a lot of people will see something on Live at the Apollo and think, "Oh, she was great, I love her." And then they go and see her live, and then they say, "Oh, I went to see her live and she was very rude." I said, "Well, yeah, it's live comedy." And but they don't understand that there is, that's the whole point of live comedy. There's no holds barred.
Yeah.
It is it's where you play with it. You see what you can get away with. But obviously, if you then get picked up by the BBC or one of the big broadcasters, you do have to modify your material. Of course you do.
Yeah.
There can be
Rein it in a
kids
bit.
watching, you know. And I think that is also a bit of a threat with the whole industry, because you can get pretty much anything, can't you, now on YouTube, you know, literally from pornography to the weirdest, you know, terrorism, and I mean, it's a
squeezing
cesspool,
spots. There's all sorts of weird stuff on there. Yeah.
So, you know, comedy is really like nothing compared to some of it. But again, if you think you can use some humour in your campaigns or your products to promote your products, come and talk to the people that understand comedy. I'm not a comedian. I've got nothing, you know, I can give you 10, 20, 30 different suggestions of all different types of male and female comedians. I mean, I'm not exclusive. I mean, I know I run Funny Women, but I'm also interested in men that do comedy as well. But, you know, it annoys me that it's something that people like to own, so they tend to think they're the experts, which is why I think they don't always come to people like us to get the ideas. They like to think they know all about it because it's a cultural thing. And people like to own their little bit of culture. They like to feel they've discovered something or whatever. It's like music's the same, isn't it? I went to see a great live band. You've never heard of them.
Yeah.
And then
I got there first.
Yeah, I got there first. And, you know, I think that's comedy's very much like that.
I think what you have, though, is the kind of business, and the advertising and the marketing view, because you've grown up in PR and marketing and then have run a, comedy business for so long.
I think I do have a very unique perspective, and I probably do myself down. I've got this really weird thing. I don't know what it is, but I can hear a voiceover on an ad or a TV thing, and I really, not always, but if it's a comedy person, I know their voice. And it's like when you know someone's so good that they might win, or they're going to get picked up by big management, and you kind of get to know that. And it's a sort of blessing and a curse.
Yeah, of course.
Because, you know, sometimes I think, oh, they're really good, but I know exactly what kind of agents are going to go after them. And my heart sinks, and they sign with one agent, and I think, oh, now it's going to be really hard for me to book them because the agent is really protective and they don't let you near. And that's the other thing that happens to us. We do all this work. It's a non-profit organisation. We're literally getting people at grassroots by running all the workshops and encouraging all these new people. And we get them, and we get these 10 women on stage once a year for the final. And then they get picked up by all the big management companies. And then we're kept at arm's length. And that cannot continue. It's not fair. I was speaking to Karen Corran, who runs another big competition called So You Think You're Funny. She was up in Edinburgh, and she has exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
And again, she does a whole load of work to get these, you know, top
launch them,
exactly. You know, and I don't know what it is.
You need to get royalties. You need royalties, Lynne. That's what you need.
That is where it gets difficult, because they don't want you to have a piece of the work. To be honest, I don't want to be an agent or a manager. No. I love what I do, and I'm all about the talent, you know. I just feel that sometimes it's not valued.
No.
That it's hard to put a value on what people like me do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one friend, when I say, she hears me say, people ask me what I do, and I say I'm a comedy producer, and she laughs. I say, why do you laugh? It's not funny. She said, oh, I just don't know what a producer does. I mean, you know, we talk about film producers and what have you, but in comedy, a comedy producer does pretty much everything.
Yeah.
All of the pain and none of the glory, you know?
All of the pain, none of the gain.
Yeah.
So let's take it back into the marketing world for a minute, because this is what I really want our lovely listeners to take away today is, what do you think is missing? Because I see this all the time. I see content go out. Very rarely do I see funny content, and it's so important.
I know. Well, there are some amazing campaigns that use comedy, and they're the ones we will remember. So you always remember the funny ads. You know, going back into time immemorial. You know, you've got the PG chimps were funny. You know, I bet anyone of my age can probably cite the most, famous line from their commercials, even now, are whites, the Elvis Costello's dad, I think it was, in that. I may have got that wrong. But, though they were funny. Yeah. They had humour in them. And then, some really great campaigns that I think Specsavers is brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, number one, I wear specs. And number two, they just take the piss out of all the stereotypes. I love the one with the two old people that look like they're sitting on the front at the seaside and then suddenly they're on a carousel. Yeah. I was like, it's very funny. And the dog that gets shaved instead of the sheep. I can remember the detail. And that's the point. You remember them because they are funny. And comedy is a very memorable because it's relatable. So people laugh together. It's a communal thing that we do. It's a very human thing. I think it's only humans and chimpanzees that actually laugh. And funny that, isn't it? Because the PG chimps, perhaps that's why they use them. I don't know. But, it's something that people like to do together. And if you go to a live comedy club, I think you laugh more because you're in that environment with everyone. So it would work for an advertising campaign because it opens up the possibilities. So if you make your target audience laugh, you've got a better chance of putting your message over because the audience is going to be more receptive. I won't go into the science of it, but it's true. It's true. Everyone knows it anyway.
It's anything that is emotive captures your attention. Yeah. So if you think about the adverts or the marketing campaigns or the social clips that you remember, for me, they're either very sad or they're very funny.
Yes, and those nothing much in between, really, is there? Yeah, and this is where TikTok, of course, has taken off.
Totally.
Because anyone can put anything stupid, like a pratfall or, someone singing a silly song or I don't really do TikTok. It just drives me mad. But it's the point of it is anyone can be funny.
Anyone can be funny.
Anyone. But when it comes to your advertising, your branding, and I think this is where people get fearful and the risk steps in. Yeah, if you unleash your brand to a whole load of people who think they're funny, who are not comedians or not in the world of comedy, you do run quite a risk of it all going horribly wrong. So my message to brands is to really think about who your audience is. I mean, it's old school this, but I don't think a lot of brands even now really understand who they're marketing to. And I will speak as a woman in her 60s. I think we're particularly prone because everyone thinks when you're in your 60s, you aren't going to want to wear nice clothes or dye your hair. They've got us all, or we're all there, trying to smooth out our wrinkles.
I mean, you don't need to, Lynne. I think I've got more wrinkles than you.
They're there. But, there's a lot of misconceptions about lots of different target markets. I think I'm just using that market because I understand it. And I really hate being marketed to as a woman who should be retiring or, running along a beach with a, beautiful, sort of slim in my pale blue jeans, a la Diane Keaton, in a movie, playing with my grandkids. Life isn't like that. There are so many different types of people in their 60s. And let's face it, that's a huge market as well because there are more people over 50 than there have ever been.
Yeah.
And so if you get your product right or how you're selling your product to that audience, and a lot of us in our older ages really love humour. And we've all, as we've already talked about, we grew up on classic humour. And I think you need to understand that and then bring elements of that into your advertising and branding. I've explained that quite badly, but I think
it's
you know
brilliant.
what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
And, if late great Victoria Wood, if you loved her humour and you think she would appeal to your target market, there's another 100 Victoria Woods coming up, of older women that do comedy. I can find them for you like that.
Yeah.
But people don't come to us. I think the biggest problem is they don't talk about it. They don't ask questions.
Yeah.
A survey is not asking questions. I think Get people in a room, talk to them.
Yeah.
Sit down, focus groups.
Get the real answers.
Yeah. And we can do it on Zoom now. It's absolutely fine, But big advantage, technology. Use it. Talk to these people.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't understand why they don't. So that's my big thing. And I think that I'm not all marketers, by the way. I think a lot of brands that do it really, really well, and they do listen to their audiences, and then they get it right.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is being brave enough, exploring and understanding how you're going to position that comedy in your campaigns. Yeah. That's important.
And, the other thing you can do with comedy is you can write it bespoke. You can manage it. If a comedian is being paid enough money, they will do as they're told.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if they don't, you never use them again.
Yeah, exactly. They get one shot. Lynne, I want to very quickly ask you, so there are some great things that you're doing, and there's one thing that I hope we're going to get to work together on.
Yeah.
Can you explain, a little bit about your proposition to businesses and how you can bring funny into the workplace?
So one of my big passions, I think COVID really nailed it as well, is getting people back into the workplace. And the workplace is not just a place that you work now. It's got to be fun. It's got to be lively. People are saying, we've got to get people back in our office. Well, make it a nice environment for them. I'm not suggesting you have a comedy night every day of the week, but, do something, do some events that involve some fun and games and getting people to know each other. So we created pre-COVID a series of events. They all got different names, and we created a sort of sub-brand called Hilarious. And we ran events with the Twitter, who are no longer Twitter, LinkedIn. We did something with a couple of big agencies. And we just put on an event that involved workshops, discussion, and live comedy. We literally threw the kitchen sink at it. 2-hour event, lots of fun, lots of people running around. It wasn't exclusively female, run by women, but the men very welcome. And we had workshops on improvisation, writing, comedy writing, comedy filmmaking, content creation, obviously my thing, stand up. And people could choose which workshops they wanted to do. Then we had a panel discussion with some people from the industry. And then we capped the whole thing off with some live stand-up comedy of the type you would see in a comedy club, going back to what I was saying earlier. It's important for you to see it in the raw. And they were really successful. So we've rebranded it as Fun at Work, How to Have Fun at Work. And we did a fantastic event last autumn at Grey, London, and beautiful Rose, the Rose
at the Rosewood.
Yes. Yeah. No, not the Rosewood. No. It was their hospitality suite, and it was absolutely lovely. And we want to do it again this autumn. And I know we're talking about how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I really.
But I think for the brand and advertising industry and all those people we met at MadFest, it's a really good way of them, number one, sort of joining in so they can be part of it and they can have a bit of fun. I mean, I've literally had people doing the maddest stuff because I'm quite good at that, getting people to do crazy things. But they're, getting out for themselves, having fun, opening up their mind to how humour can work for them, helping them to create comedy so they get an understanding. I also invite a load of comedians along to be in the audience so they get to play with them as well. And then we have a bit of a serious discussion about it, a bit like we're doing now, which we could do again. And then we have some proper live stand-up. And we had, that was not long after last year's award. So the wonderful Morgana's successor, Lorna Rose Treen, performed that night, and I had a couple of new people. And that's it. It's mixing it up and giving people a taste of all of the elements that I do in my everyday life in one package. And it's just been hard to get that off the ground post this year.
Well, I'm going to help make it happen because I want to do it.
Yeah.
So if I want to do it, I'm going to make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And the other exciting thing is that if anyone's interested in funny women, one of the best things that's happened, despite the fact that we've struggled this year, is that we were approached by BBC Radio 4 and they've made a programme all about the history of funny women, the Funny Women Awards, and that goes out on the 23rd of September.
Amazing.
A few days before the final, which is on the 28th of September. And they're also recording the final and packaging that up. So anyone who's interested will be able to go on to BBC Sounds and listen to it as well, because it will stay there. It's an archive. It's a special comedy archive programme. So I feel that's brilliant, because that's like, it's only taken me 20 years, but there you go.
You've got there, Lynne. You've done some amazing things. Yeah. Amazing things.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, well, one, for everything that you do and have done, and for coming on the podcast.
I've enjoyed it.
I know our listeners are going to take so much away from today. So a big thank you.
Good. Thank
you. And high five for being you. There we go. Sorry, a bit of an awkward with the mics, but yeah, thank you.